The parking ticket I did pull. The ticket wasn't mine, but it knew my car better than I did. It sat on our kitchen island at 7 in the morning, a pale pink rectangle from the Midtown Arcus garage. Date last night. Entry 2004. Exit 0111. License plate mine. Level P3. Payment validated. Under discounts in tiny type that felt like a smirk. Gala partner. Rhea poured coffee like it should answer something. She wore one of my shirts with the sleeves folded once, her concession to pretending we weren't in a hurry. She runs a legal aid unit that specializes in tenant harassment and city facility contract disputes. She knows the exact temperature at which an apology curdles. I manage reputations professionally and doors recreationally. "You left early," she said, eyes on the ticket, not me. "I left with you," I said. "We got in a cab at 11:23 because the mayor's speech was a hostage situation." "Then why does your plate leave the garage at 0111? She asked. I looked at the ticket. The paper gave nothing away. Paper never confesses first. The gala had been at the museum connected to the Arcus by a tunnel that smells like money, remembering it used to be marble. We'd left the car because we were both on the right side of 2 drinks. I hadn't come back for it. I know that much the way you know your own name. "Somebody used my plate," I said, because I like to start the day with discouraging accuracy. The phone buzzed like a doorbell with bad manners. Unknown number. The text was a photo of the garage exit at 0111, the red bar up, my car's nose in the frame. The driver's face was a blur. The next message arrived under it. "I hope you got home okay, handsome. In." Rhea didn't flinch. She has a different reflex. She gets safer to stand near. "N is for who?" she asked. "Nightmare," I said. She exhaled exactly once, then put the mug down and set both hands on the counter the way she does when she chooses law over theater. "Say it." "Honeysuckle," I said, hatting it correctly. "That's why it works," she said, and kissed me like punctuation, firm, brief, the mark between what happened and what happens next. We're not starting the day with a lie. We're starting it with a plan. The gala was for the Harbor Children's Clinic, which makes people who hate taxes feel generous. It had drawn everyone who prefers solving problems with cocktails, developers, donors, the deputy commissioner who smiles like a minor storm. I'd spent half the night telling a council aide why voluntary escrow isn't a contradiction in terms. Rhea had been cornered by a board member's wife who treats tenant protections like a fad she didn't buy early enough. At 11:23, we tapped our coats from the check, laughed at a joke I've already forgotten, and left our car asleep in P3. "I know who N is," I said. "I think." Rhea tilted her head like a locksmith considering an unfamiliar lock. "And?" "Noel," I said. "She used to do special situations for a rival firm. She calls herself a fixer. She's a fuse." Rhea's mouth did that knot smile I love and fear. "She texts you often." "She texted me once, 2 years ago, to congratulate me on not taking a job I shouldn't have wanted. I didn't answer." "Maybe you should now," she said. The Arcus garage office sits behind a glass wall etched with a pattern that suggests the comfort of fences. The attendant was a man who looked like he narrates the weather to houseplants. Behind him, a wall of monitors divided into squares, entry lanes, exit lanes, license plate readers spitting text into boxes, human faces downgraded to possibilities. I set the ticket down. "I need the session." He looked at the ticket, at me, at Rhea, at a point 2 inches to the left of my shoulder. "Manager only," he said. "Call them," Rhea said. "Tell them this is a data privacy request under City Ordinance Section 12-172. He blinked like the rest of his face had filed a late notice. He picked up the phone. 3 minutes later, a woman in an Arcus polo with an old tattoo peeking from the cuff unlocked the side door and led us into the small room where garages practice being evidence. "We redact faces," she said, as if that would stop whoever was supposed to be stopped. "Leave the driver blurred," I said. "I want the lane log, the plate read, the validation scan, the list of validations granted between 00:55 and 01:20, and the audit trail for any manual lifts." She looked at me like she was trying to decide whether to call security or her cousin. "You a lawyer?" "Worse," Rhea said. "He reads contracts for fun." The manager's mouth did the bare minimum curve to qualify as a smile. She pulled up the session. At 01:11, the camera watched my car nose the bar. The license plate reader stamped out my alphanumerics. The bar rose. "Under reason," the text read, "exit VALIDATED, HCC Gala. ID 4729 Chambers." "Chambers," Rhea said. The manager shrugged. "Could be a donor, could be a vendor, could be somebody who leaned on someone who knows how to make a button say yes." My phone buzzed again. "Noel, blue coat, black heels, tunnel bench at 01:02, gorgeous, a little cruel." Rhea read over my shoulder. "She wants you to think this is personal," she said. "It's not," I said. "It never is," she said, "until it is." We asked for the validation log. It printed on dot matrix paper that smelled like faxed regrets. 27 validations in that window, 22 with names that looked like donor tears, Pearl, Harbor, 3 marked vendor, 1 media, 1 internal. "Internal?" I asked. "Garage staff," the manager said. "Or hotel, or museum, we share the tunnel, please don't tell me we shouldn't." I pointed to 4729 Chambers. "Who?" She looked at the last column, the one they pretend is machine. Her finger tapped twice. "Manual override by LV," she said. "And a note." She turned the monitor so I could see. "Per Noel." Rhea didn't curse. She doesn't need to. She tucked her hair behind her ear the way she does when she's about to set fire politely. "Call LV," she said. LV arrived still carrying the smell of a cigarette she hadn't finished. She had the kind of eyes you get from seeing other people at their worst and deciding to stay anyway. "Manual lift at 01:11, the manager said. "Per Noel." LV's mouth tilted. "Noel's the one in the blue coat," she said. She looked like trouble that knows it. She said donor like it was a badge, and she had a laminated thing on a lanyard with a hologram that looked expensive. She said the driver's wife was sick. He'd left her coat upstairs. He was just bringing the car around. "So I hit the button because I'm tired of this winter, and because I'm not paid for empathy, but I still have some." Rhea breathed out slowly. "He bring the car back." LV shook her head. "No, but I got the feeling the car wasn't the point." Noel had left me a third gift by the time we reached the museum tunnel, a printed photo of the bench halfway down. 2 figures, one in a blue coat, one in a black dress, leaned too close for charity. The faces were blurred by motion, but the posture was declarative. The security guard at the museum end wore the kind of boredom that doesn't survive bad news. I showed him the ticket. "We need the bench camera." He made the face of a man remembering his training and forgetting it quickly. "I can't," he said then. "But if you were to request footage from the maintenance folder labeled Pipe Inspect, you would find 22 seconds between 01:01 and 01:03 that the system saved by accident." Noel had planned that part too. The clip played on a screen that would have bought dinner for two and still had change for regret. Blue coat, black dress. The woman in black took the other's wrist, lifted it to her mouth, kissed the inside with the casualness of people who don't have to ask, then laughed, touching a necklace I recognized because I had bought its cousin once and hated myself for it the next morning. Then she stepped back, straightened the other woman's coat like she owned it, and left. It wasn't Rhea. It wasn't me. It was a performance of personal that wanted to be a rumor. "Who is Black Dress?" Rhea asked. "Someone who wants to remind me she knows where the walls are," I said. "You're not answering the question," she said gently. "Councilwoman DeVere," I said. "She chairs zoning. She thinks flirtation is a form of leverage because the men she practices on keep confirming it." Rhea nodded once and not happily. "Okay," she said. "So the story they're trying to sell is, your car left with someone else in it while I slept, and you kissed a politician in a tunnel when you were supposed to be being my plus one to a gala about sick kids. And the bill they'll submit is, you owe a favor to Chambers," I said, "who is either a person or a firm or an alias for a developer who wants a vote." We didn't have to guess long. At 10:10 a.m., my office received a breakfast invitation from Chambers and Rowe Civic Strategies to discuss alignment opportunities for Harbor South. The replita was a personal address, Noel at. Rhea smiled without joy. "She's sloppy," she said. Noel's office sat on the 11th floor of a building full of tech founders who wear backpacks with suits. Her assistant, young, marigold tie, eyes like a towel after a swim, ushered us into a small conference room with a view of a wall with a view of the river. Noel entered like a good idea someone was about to misapply. Blue coat, hair like a thesis, mouth like a verdict. "You got my souvenirs," she said, not bothering to shake. "We brought our own," Rhea said, setting the garage validation log on the table, the manual override highlighted, the name LV circled like a teaching aid. "Per you." Noel's eyes flicked down once. Interest, interest, interest. "Relax," she said, sliding into a chair that made her legs look longer than contracts. "This is administrative. I needed to get your attention. The councilwoman wants something. So does the hospital. So do the people who would like affordable housing to mean something other than pretty words near a rendering. I'm here to make everyone get only half of what they want so that the city gets more than what it usually does." "And the part where you framed me for a 1:11 a.m. checkout?" I asked. She waved a hand. "Your girlfriend is a grown-up," she said. "She understands how the town works. Besides, nothing happened. You were home at 11:40. She has your hinge memorized." Rhea didn't look at me. She looked at Noel with the cold pleasure of a lawyer who knows the better word. "Consent," she said. Noel blinked. "Excuse me." "You borrowed his identity without consent," Rhea said. "You implicated an hourly worker in a favor they'll get fired for if this winds up in the wrong inbox. You staged an exit you wanted us to explain to you, out loud, so we'd be softened up for a deal. You want what?" Noel smiled because the other options are rarely available to people like her. "The vote on Riverbend's Parcel H," she said. "DeVere will push it through committee if the clinic signs onto the community benefits memo that lets the developer install a branded pavilion instead of a real detox facility. In return, we get 40% of units at a band that's almost reality. It's the best you're going to get before the election changes the weather. You want us to help you make a small good thing and a big bad thing at the same time," I said. "That's the job," she said. "No," Rhea said. "The job is making the big bad thing more expensive than the small good thing can pay for." Noel watched us, that cool curiosity she uses when she's lining up the next 10 steps. You play hard, she said to Rhea. I like you. You like control, Rhea said. We're not here for that. We left with the parting gift she wanted to give us: time pressure. Committee Thursday. The clinic board Wednesday. The hospital's philanthropy arm undecided. The vote within reach if we stopped expecting a miracle and learned to be grateful for a compromise. In the elevator, Rhea finally let her face do the thing it does when she's furious, and I'm lucky. You wanted to sleep with her once, she said, not a question. Once, I said. Then I learned the room she belongs to. She's dangerous, Rhea said. So are you, I said. She smiled despite herself. Say it. Honeysuckle, I said, and meant it less like a password and more like a vow. We didn't go home. We went to the clinic, where the executive director keeps a jar of M and MS on her desk like a stress test. We assembled the board chair, the two members who always want to know what capacity building really means, a lawyer who reads better angry, and a nurse who knows precisely how donor plaques smell after a year. We showed them the benefit memo. We showed them the garage log. We showed them a map of Parcel H and the floodplain that has learned to laugh at renderings. Escrow, Rhea said. Enforceable, a clinic first clause, independent third-party audits of the pavilion, a prohibition on using benefits to satisfy marketing goals, and a camera policy that keeps anyone from filming patients walking in and out. And if they say no, the chair asked. Then we publish the 1-11 playbook and call it a day, I said. Call it a reckoning, Rhea said. They voted to make the demand. The hospital's philanthropy team called it innovative through gritted teeth. DeVere's chief of staff called to say my method of persuasion was impolite. Noel texted me a single peach emoji, which is either code or a confession. With her, it's always both. The committee room was a shoebox that thinks it's important. Reporters lined the back wall like patient predators. DeVere called the meeting to order with a gavel that had never hit anything hard. The developers' council used the word vision 6 times. The hospital's representative described partnership in a way that made it sound like a flavor. Rhea spoke like a fuse catching the light. Escrow, clinic first, cameras last. She said pavilion in a tone that made the word apologize for itself. The nurse spoke after her. She said, I will not walk a family past a branded anything to get to their daughter. The room listened because the sentence had already paid its own rent. DeVere, to her credit, understood a narrow loss when she saw it. She declared a recess. 10 minutes in the side hall. Enough time for Noel to find me and tuck herself into my breathing space with a smile like a blade. You win, she said. You'll hate this version too. I hate all of them, I said. I love this one better. She leaned close, not flirty now, just exact. Don't make me your enemy, she said. Don't make LV your scapegoat, I said, or I'll make you my content. She laughed genuinely. Marry her, she said, tilting her head toward where Rhea stood with the nurse and a map. She makes you brave without making you stupid. We're not marrying anyone to win policy, I said. You're marrying someone to survive it, she said, and went to whisper into DeVere's ear the way the city taught her. The vote passed with our conditions stapled on like a warning label. The clinic got the real room it needed. The pavilion became an unbranded bench with a discreet roof and a sign that said nothing at all. The developer posted a rendering with sunlight that physics will not honor. The hospital announced a new era and an innovative partnership, and ate the escrow like a vitamin. LV kept her job. The Arcus manager installed a rule that any PER needed a name with a last name, and a human who would answer a phone. That night we drove the car we hadn't driven last night home. Rhea parked on level P3 and climbed over the center console into my lap like she owned the lease on gravity. She put her mouth at the place under my jaw where I keep the part of myself that tries to be better. "You're still mad," she said, smiling, breath warm. "At me?" I asked. "At the machine," she said. "At the room. At the part of you that likes a puzzle you shouldn't solve. At how good you are when you're angry." She shifted, slow, deliberate, a choreography we have earned. It wasn't obscene, it was accurate. Proof that our bodies still hold the answer the city tries to buy from other rooms. The garage air smelled like rubber and rumor. I let my head drop back and the ceiling caught the sound I didn't have time to swallow. When she whispered, "Say it," I did, useless and necessary, ridiculous and ours. "Honeysuckle." We left the car and walked the tunnel and let the river explain itself in the way it does when it wants you to think things are solvable. Noel sent one more text at 11:06. "You're welcome." I didn't answer. Rhea took my phone and typed, "Help without hurting next time. Learn to ask." R. Noel sent back a single period. It felt like a nod. We taped the pink ticket inside the cabinet where we keep spare keys and truths we're not done with. Not as a trophy, as a receipt. The next time someone tries to make our car tell a story it didn't live, we'll read them the part where the exit bar never decides who we are. We still don't like Chablis. We still don't kiss in tunnels for cameras. We still hate our password. We still use it. It still keeps opening the right door.